Welcome back to your nightmares, my children. This is Mr. Midnight speaking. I welcome you all to my humble abode. Today, we will be looking at Wendigos again, because they are my brethren. Let's get into this. But before we do, make sure you subscribe and like, because if you do not, I will send them after you. So now buckle up, and always remember, the darkness always follows. I will now leave you with my narrator, so enjoy.
Something appeared in the woods. An ex-girlfriend of mine used to live on this small rural island in Minnesota called Grey Cloud Island. At one point, the island had the highest concentration of Indian burial mounds in the country. There is a lot of history there, and it, at one time, was considered sacred. I'm sure you all know how that went. At any rate, across the street from my ex's mailbox was a long, overgrown gravel driveway blocked off by a rusty chain. On one of our late evening jots, we decided to step over the chain and make our way down this driveway, which was a good quarter of a mile long, if not more. The driveway opened up into a small clearing of sorts, in the center of which was all that remained of our home's foundation. Then little more than a rectangular patch of concrete. The trees which ringed the clearing were sparse in some places, thicker in others. But even so, we could see a lot of the ground beyond the clearing. Grassy, humped ground. Trees, nothing else. The ex-girlfriend had a blanket, which she spread out on the patch of concrete. We lay down together and talked for some space, the while listening to the chirr of the crickets. Dusk had just crept in, and we were still lying there when he heard movement in the woods nearby. The furtive crackle of branches, crunching leaves. It was very close, much too close for comfort. From the sound of it, it was no more than 20 yards away. Surely we would have heard its approach from a way off. After all, sound has a tendency to carry in the woods. We got up by mutual, unspoken agreement, and in the dark made our hasty but careful way to the driveway. The sound of something approaching from the woods changed. It was now in the clearing, where he had been only moments before. As shiz scared as ever I've been, I broke into a run, which was immediately arrested by my girlfriend, who urgently whispered, "Don't run, it provokes chase." I did as she bade, and together, in silence, we moved back down the driveway. Moved as fast as we could without actually running. By the time we got to the street, the sounds were gone. "What do you think that was?" I asked her. "I don't want to talk about it," she said, stone-faced. She was 100% Native American. I knew she knew more than she let on. But regardless of how much I pried, she never told me what it was. To this day, I wonder. There's something following me. I decided to reach out finally after seeing something I cannot begin to describe. I made this account to post this and hopefully find some answers. I've lived in Virginia for almost 3 years now and started a graveyard shift job at a gigantic complex which includes original houses from the 80s colonial period. For those who live here, they will be able to identify the exact location in which I'm referring to. I've worked here before, going on a year and a half. I monitor every building and repair any HVAC equipment during the night. Thinking back to my first weird experience at this job, it was when I first stayed during the graveyard shift. I heard an unidentifiable noise. My second month here, around 4 in the morning. I don't scare easily, and I'm a bit of a horror movie buff. It was a very low growl. It sounded as if it was crouching right behind me in my office. I sat there stunned, not turning around, not moving whatsoever. When I got the courage to turn and see what it could be, there was nothing there. I tried to talk to my co-workers about the noise, but since I'm a young guy that does a bit of pranking, no one really took me too seriously. Trust me when I say, I question so much and pick apart horror movies as a hobby. So when I couldn't identify this sound, I blamed it on the shite refrigerator I have in here. It's been well over a year now. I've never once heard that noise again. Recently, I've been leaving early to take a scenic route to get to work, enjoying the fall foliage and the cool breeze. I've been pulling into the same spot for the past couple of weeks to smoke cigs and relax before getting there and clocking in. Last week, when I pulled in and parked, I felt this uneasy feeling of being watched by something or someone in the tree line. I brushed it off the first 2 or 3 times it happened during the rest of the week. Now, this may seem like paranoia, but I know paranoia being a recovering coke addict. I can promise you this isn't some delusion. This is a trust your gut type of paranoia. 3 days ago, I went back to flash some headlights and try to establish some dominance to take back my spot and to get nosy, hoping to see something, if anything at all. When I didn't see anything, I shrugged it off once again and decided to park anyway. No sinking feeling. I started to relax. I put the cig between my lips, cracked my window down about 8 inches, put my car in park and pull out my lighter. As I hit my lighter and lean in to light the cig, I get a cool sensation cover my entire body. The hair on the back of my neck stand up. As I look around the car, I peer into the rear view mirror and see a white shape about 50 feet from the back end of the car. I tap the brake to illuminate the area and see a gangly tall creature with a long white face standing on its back legs, hunched over 5 or 6 feet into the tree line, about 20 feet right behind my car. I took a sharp breath in and about coughed up a lung when I threw my car into drive and sped off. This was only a few days ago. I work by myself on the second floor of a pretty secure building. I keep hearing crunching leaves as if a grown man is walking directly under the window where my office is. This only happens when I'm at work, where I feel it'll be a matter of time until I feel its presence at my house as well. The more I read and try to understand what I saw, I couldn't be more convinced that what I saw was a Wendigo. I'm starting to dream about this thing. Last night was the first night it appeared in a dream. Being in Virginia by myself gives me much relief from my family because they aren't in danger. If I even am in danger, sure as heck feels as if I am. Help! What was it really? What really attacked our horses? My sister and I took a ride on our horses a few days ago, and I would say our horses are fairly spook-proof. They sit still when we shoot rifles off their backs, so when they get spooked at a tall, dark, twisted figure in the corner of the woods, we flipped out and booked it back to the barn. We rode them straight into the barn, sucking down so we wouldn't get knocked off. They ran straight into their stalls. My sister was in a separate stall opposite me with her horse. We locked the stalls and bolted the door shut from the inside. This was a feature I never thought we would need. Dead bolts on the inside of a stall and wood windows covers. There was no way inside. I heard it chase us wherever it was had been following us closely through the field. I think we barely escaped. I didn't even notice my horse was bleeding on her left hip. I felt a kick while we were riding away, and I didn't think something had actually got her. She was sweating and I could see the white in her eyes. I stood away from the window and the door. My father must have seen us or it because we heard gunshots coming from the right side of the barn. going towards the field. I called out to Sherry, asking if she was okay. She was, but her horse was hurt just like mine. She asked if I saw what it was that scared the horses. I told her I barely saw anything. To be honest, I still don't know what it was, but it was thin and dark and smelled rotten. It left claw marks deep in our horse's backsides. They'll have matching scars, but I don't think they'll let us take them back to the woods. They haven't left their stall for 2 days. My dad described it as really mutated and mangled dog. He shot at it when it started to run into the barn. He made it bleed, but we hadn't found the body. To be fair, he was pretty far away from it, so he didn't see it really good. What is it? I've heard of skinwalkers and Wendigos, so I thought I'd post my story and ask. We have no clue to this day, but it always comes back at the end of every month without fail and kills our livestock. It hasn't come this close to us before, but now it's become a scary problem. Any help would be appreciated. I'll update soon. It should be back and my brothers are going to kill it this time. Wendigo in my shed. So to let you all know, I live in Canada and I've seen drunk people and bears, but what I saw was neither. I had just got in bed and started to doze off, but then I heard something scream. It was like if you were to run a sharp piece of metal on a chalkboard while screaming in a slimy, pitched voice. It scared me so bad I jumped out of bed, shocked. I looked out the window and what I saw was terrifying. I saw the shadow of a head like a deer with antlers and a tall, thin body in my shed. I grabbed a flashlight and pointed it, and this thing, bad idea, when the light hit, it looked at me for about 20 seconds, but it felt like hours. I could make out more of its body now, and it looked so rotten. It looked more like a walking body inside of a working animal, if you would call it that. After a good stare off, it ran back into the forest. All I could see was a blur. I have had more incidents with it, but this was the scariest by far. Incident 2. If you haven't read my post Wendigo in my shed, then I suggest you read it. Anyways, I had went to my friend's house for a party, and it was actually pretty fun, of course. I didn't drink and I was going to drive myself home. I'm the type of person who doesn't like to waste people's time, so when I go to parties, I don't want to have someone to drive in the snow at 9:30 in the middle of the woods. So I was going to drive myself home. I was about halfway to my house when something jumped in front of my car and on the other side of the road into the forest. But I didn't stop because this thing had antlers, so it could have been a deer. But it had long legs and arms, so that freaked me out enough to just keep on driving home. I got back home safe, but sadly that would not be the last time I saw this thing. Even though I prayed to never see it again, I have a few more stories if you guys want to hear them. I do still live in the same house, but I haven't seen it in a few weeks, and I wonder, will I ever see it again? Who wants to hear my Wendigo story? My boyfriend and I get off work at around 10 and 10:30. So we grocery shop at work. Work don't close till midnight. We were headed home and we take the cuts on our way home. We saw a slender but muscular person running naked across the road like an animal on all fours. The more we stared, the less human it looked. Muscular thin legs, hair fur running down its butt down to the calves. It was a curve next to a canal, so as we turned, seen it and our light beam shined on it. Our brights were on, and my light shined on the orchard it ran into. Those trees were leafless and apart, so we were able to see how it ran into the trees. Both my boyfriend and I saw it and both agreed it was no human, no monkey, no other animal, just a crazy creature. I recently told a friend and she told me it was a Wendigo. We live in Central Valley in California. This is one of the weirdest encounters we've ever had. Can't do this anymore. I'm not dead, at least, but I need to kill this thing. It's been tormenting me for months, and I'm tired of it. During my search, I saw the same creature I saw before. The thing was crouched down in front of me, and it looked like a corpse of a bear. And I saw this, I booked it back to my house. I heard a growl behind me as I ran away. As the snapping of branches and sticks behind me. After I got back, I locked the door and windows and blinds. I was in bed when I heard tapping on the window next to my bed. I really gotta kill or get rid of this thing because I can't do this anymore. It happened again. So I've had a few run-ins with Wendigos as I live in northwestern PA. Tonight, though, I was walking my boyfriend out to his car like I usually do. We heard crunching, even though no one was walking. My dogs were inside and my family was all watching a movie. When we got to his car, I kissed him and started to do our usual goodbye. But we both heard a scream. I kissed him, told him to be safe and ran. Now I know none of y'all know anything about me, but I don't run. Then he called me because I was having a panic attack, and every time I've had an experience with a Wendigo, my chest gets tight and I feel incredibly sick, and I felt that all day today. Early in the day we were at his house and he didn't point this out to me until he called me, but he said he saw it. In his bedroom there's a window about 7 feet off the ground, and he said he saw a little bit of grey pale head, I guess. And then as soon as he looked at it, the thing moved. I know this all might sound stupid or not make sense, and I answer any questions that are commented. I'm just freaking out. And he told his mum about it, and she's freaked out about it too. I had a weird dream about the Wendigo. Okay, so I don't really know where to begin, but we went camping. My grandparents took me and 4 of my friends. We just walk around the house, not thinking much of it, but we keep hearing really weird noises, but we don't do anything about it. Later on in my dream, me and my one friend were playing on the Wii, and then we heard this low growl in the room next to us. So we run outside the house. As we're running, the creature gets a hold of one of my friends and maul him to death. After that, it was over. We all got separated. I was hiding in the kitchen and he walks into the kitchen, staring at me and comes closer. And I start saying, it can't kill me cause it's morning. I don't know why I said this, but it worked. It left me alone, but it stayed in the house with me. I don't know, the creature was sort of being nice, I guess. But then since I was still scared, I told it I was gonna go look for my friends. But instead, I went to barricade myself in a room. And it didn't work. And then I woke up. I don't know if this means anything. I've been reading stories about this, and I'm wondering if anyone can give me an answer to what this might be. And if I dream of this again, is this a bad sign? I also live nowhere near the woods, but my old house that we moved out of 3 weeks ago was 3 blocks away from the forest. And another old house of mine from when I was in 2nd grade had the forest legit behind our house. And I remember there was always a black cat that lives behind there. I don't know if this really means anything. I just thought I'd put it out there. I also had another dream about this 2 weeks ago, but I don't really remember it. But me and my friend talked about the Wendigo that same night I had the first dream. Call me a liar. I had a dream of a Wendigo. It killed almost everyone I know. I can remember it so vividly, and any time I woke up and went back to sleep, the dream would just continue. Once I remembered how to kill it, the way we've been told how to. The dream would stop and I'd wake up. Anytime I tried, I'd never finish the job, and the dream would pick back up and start at the point before I killed it. I can't hide from it. Literally, it'll find me anywhere. It was a big sob, very big. The ground boomed when it walked. I can remember a well in the dream too, and the well was connected to a tunnel system. I'll assume this is where it resides. It was about as tall as a common motorhouse home, and as big as the two standard white ones. You could blow up the well because it would relentlessly dig its way out to get you. He was big, red, and had no skin, just exposed muscle. Probably why he was red, but my mind told me it was a Wendigo. It still had the trademark antlers and skull. Its hands were large with daggers for claws. They'd challenge a modern blade for sure. I hope I don't have another dream of it. This dream gave me anxiety and sort of dread and paranoia. As for me, I only have a pinky width of Native American. I am a Texas-born man, still in Texas, 19 years old, white. I do fancy listening to stories about it often, and I've even talked about it. I guess I forgot that rule about talking about it. Comments, opinions, tips and other things. Or don't. I just felt I should post this. If I remember anything else important, I'll make a new post with the same title, but with a part 2 on it. And now I will be reviewing each story and mentioning the authors that wrote these stories. So the first story was by Sir Robin Hood, and it was called Something Appeared in the Woods. Now this was scary. Yes, it was probably, yes, and Wendigo. The fact that the girl is Native American, she probably knew it was, and it was good that you were with her. Otherwise, you were probably going to die. At least she knew what was meant to be done. Now the second story, there's something following me. Now this is creepy, and yes, if a Wendigo was watching me, I would be scared just like you. I rate this a 9 out of 10. I forgot to rate the first one. The first one was an 8 out of 10 for me. This one is a 9 out of 10. Now the third story was by Ellie Phantom, and it was titled Help, What Is It Really? Now the fact that the horses, horses are very brave and very strong and very fast. The fact that they're even scared of the Wendigo shows you how scary they are. So I would suggest you don't hunt them, you just leave them as they are, the Wendigos. Now the next story was by Wendigo Boy, Wendigo in My Shed. Actually this was 2 parts and I made them separate stories. This was kind of scary, but it wasn't as scary. But if it was true, I would be scared. But the story itself, there are much better stories, to be honest. But I'm not saying it's a bad story. It's scary, but I prefer the other ones. And the second part was called Incident 2, and you can find these on the Wendigo Reddit. And now the next story was by Felix Grizzly, and the title was Who Wants to Hear My Wendigo Story? Now this was just a sighting, and yes, it sounded scary. I would be scared as well. I wouldn't class it as a story, it was more of a sighting. The next story was titled Can't Do This Anymore, and it was by Wendigo Boy as well, the same author. And I would say you just leave it alone, to be honest, or start looking into Native American ways to deal with it, to be honest, because it looks like it's a big problem for you. The next story was It Happened Again, and again it's another sighting. I'm surprised you guys get a lot of sightings, to be honest, because I've not really seen a Wendigo in my whole life. Wish I did, so I could talk about it on my channel. But this was really scary. It was by Oak Waka, and it was called It Happened Again. The second to last story was by Maddie, and he said I had a weird dream about the Wendigo. This was actually not that good. There was a lot of mistakes. I guess it wasn't really structured as good, but it was scary, I guess, but it was lacking. I would rate this around, I guess, 7 out of 10. And the final one was by Friendly Jesus, and it was called Call Me a Liar. Now I enjoyed this one, especially the dreams and the fact that you don't know what the dream is and the meaning of the dreams, I guess. But I'm going to be honest with you. Usually when it comes to dreams, there are many types of dreams. One dream is when you talk about something during the day, or you have something on your mind, like you were talking about Wendigos, or you listen to these stories, you see those things in your dreams. Basically your day portrays what you see in the dreams. So I wouldn't suggest you think too deeply about it, to be honest. But if there is a recurring dream, it could be something else. I would suggest you do some sort of ritual, no ritual meaning have to do some omens. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend them. Just try and stay away from talking about them, or change your routine of your daily routine, because I guess that could affect you as well. Stop talking about them, stop listening to videos about them, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Now I'm going to leave Mr. Midnight to the outro, so take care and peace.
Well, my children, thank you all for listening. I hope this frightened you, because I can feel the fear that you guys are feeling. I'll see you very soon, but until then, love the darkness, as it always follows.